Paul Caracappa was there.
And Filipino, Eddie.
Eddie Fuentes.
Spin doctor.
Yeah.
2 different kinds.
I remember.
We got everything though. We got.
We were all finished. The medical thing. And
Their roasted
Patty's parents
vegetables.
brought her to us. They had something in the bag.
So we
We didn't know what was
chicken
going on.
ricotta and that pasta
And then
dish,
they put her down on the ground
roasted
and they
vegetables,
pulled her out.
and,
I looked at
we
Steve
got
and was
everything,
like,
the salad.
what do we do now? You know, there's nothing we can do. We were helpless. And
I remember Paul, we went and got Paul, and Paul came over, and he was fresh out of school, out of being a DO, and he looked and he said, I've never seen nothing like this. That's what he said.
I remember we prayed, but I remember thinking to myself, I am faithless. I had no faith. I said, this is, you know, if this was the times of Jesus, you know, she could be healed or something. And I just said, Lord, there's nothing. I was empty. I was like at the end of myself. And I remember saying to myself, Lord, if you do something with this girl's life, I'll work for you in the power. And that was, I don't know if that was right, saying it like that, but
Sounds good to me. I mean,
well, I wasn't bargaining with the Lord, but I was thinking we can't do nothing.
that was 23 years ago.
I mean, I had zero faith, zero hope. And then Paul gave us the hope. He said, if she was in the United States, we could do something. That's when Steve started. When Paul said that, Steve started his wheels turning. And I don't know who, you talked to your friend, the guy that went to prison?
Bill paid for the tickets.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm gonna switch, because it's just too much. I'm gonna switch there.
Bill paid for the tickets, and I was talking to Joey, air guy, caught me in the hallway. Remember I used to have the room down the end of the hallway? And Air God said, what's wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, we're trying to get this girl home. She's a mess. She has spina bifida and her legs are all messed up. And Joe, I'll talk to my brother-in-law. He's married to Joey's wife. What's her name? Brenda. Brenda's sister in Georgia is married to Mark, a Jewish guy. Mark Goldman, who does that type of surgery. And Joey came back like 5 days later and said, hey, Mark called, he said he'll do it. I was like, what? And then he said, yeah, and there's some Baptist guy, he's the bone guy, and he'll do the legs for free. I said, wow. I said, that's incredible. And he said, yeah, then Ronald McDonald's across the street, you can put him over there, they'll
What
take
about
him.
the hospital?
The hospital, they bought the whole thing. Paid for everything.
But how did you guys
It don't
meet?
happen, Gary. It only happened to you.
Aw.
That don't happen.
But how did you all meet? Like,
Who?
you guys, like, how did the team start?
That's too far back.
I went, Simon Peter came to the 700 Club in October or November. Simon Peter came to, no, it was before that. It was when we got all the Cleveland Browns jackets. I
Right.
told you. So I called my friend in Florida, the only other missionary I knew. He said, I work in the Amazon, I don't want any coats. He said, there's a guy in Nepal with orphans who's coming to the Christianity Today, and he's coming to 700 Club. So I tracked him down. He came to the 700 Club in late October, and then he came up to church and met us. And when he left, Joe and Jerry and all the team said, what do you think? I said, I don't know. They said, well, pick somebody and go over and see what's going on. So I went to Nepal with Eddie LaGuardia in February of 1997, came back, said the kids are sick. This is a no-brainer. We'll do medical evangelism. And then I put the word out and we picked the team from the church. 18 people. There was 18 of us. And we went in August, and we learned something about really interesting. We learned it was actually is a monsoon.
You still haven't learned that though. You still go in August.
I don't take a team in August, but I'll tell you what. Remember it rained so hard we had to dig a moat around the tent.
No. The trench went right through the tent. In the middle of the tent.
Running water. Room with a view and running water.
What was the name? Lydia was there with her guitar.
Lydia.
Lydia Rodriguez.
And Glenn Goffin was our video guy running the big. Remember we had the big 50-pound projector?
Yeah.
The church bought us the projector.
And one night there was a snake in the tent.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, and we heard a lion or a monkey screaming one night too. Everybody was all freaked out over that.
Who was the one guy told us, he goes, it's about this big. Who was that? One of our translators. And we're like, that's it? You guys are afraid of that? He goes, no, this big around.
I'm looking for a snake that's this big.
Yeah. Like, oh.
And that's how the first trip went. That was August of '97. We did 2 in '98.
What mountain was that on?
That was Dante Pockery on the way to Empapal.
County Pockery. Near that, there was an airstrip there.
That was down below, right, in Tutari. That was before you crossed over. And then one day we tried to walk up to Empapal. Do you remember we had Marcucci with us?
Yeah.
We made it halfway up there. We said, this is not for us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we turned around.
Yeah. Yep, we did.
I do remember that day. I do remember.
Maybe
Yeah,
halfway and turned
step
around.
after
Oh.
step.
I was glad we turned around, but I was going to make it. But I was glad.
That was brutal.
Yeah, that was really
That was brutal. So then we turned around and came back
Yeah.
down.
And that was the medical clinic.
Empapal Hospital. was up
Empapal,
there.
yeah.
Thomas Hale.
Yeah, Tommy
Thomas
Hale,
Hal,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. He had a book.
Didn't the one dog
Yes,
keep going
trio.
though? Didn't the one girl keep going?
Yeah, the Oriental girl.
Yeah, what was her name?
I don't know, but we bargained with them because we had when she went up there, we found out that we had this one drug. We had like 50,000, and they had what we needed, so we
Yeah.
swapped.
Uh-huh,
And we
now I
became
do
good. What
it.
was her name? Her name she was Korean.
Yeah, I
She was
should
from
have her in my
South Korea.
notes. Yep, because remember she went with us, and then when she went back, she had to go out west to finish some kind of residency. They paid for her to go to
Yeah,
Nepal, and she had to serve them at the hospital to
Right,
pay it
right.
back or something. I have her name somewhere, I'm sure.
And then that went. The last one we did was late '99, and then 2000 we didn't do any. In the beginning of 2001, we rented the old dilapidated blue building in Kalamati on the road. That big tall blue building. When we put the permanent pharmacy in there. We had the two girls, Squeaky and the other girl. She had a real high voice.
Yeah.
Squeaky and the other girl, and we opened up the clinic, and that's when I learned the real deal, the real true spiritual fact is that if you do, guaranteed, if you do medical evangelism and you do it with nationals and you do quality full-time primary care, that churches will come out of that. There's no question about it. So at one time we had 6 clinics and every one of them was producing churches without us. We never knew that. I think probably 20 churches came out of those 6 clinics.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but we always turned the clinics over to the nationals.
Right, yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah. Harry Pant, he got one, his brother Arjan. Arjan took the one in Kalamati because we built it across the street eventually. We built it like, what are you gonna say, man?
I was just going to say there was a trip in 2000 as well, because I went with you and 5 guys.
Where'd we go?
We went to, you guys went up into the mountains and
Oh, that's right.
you dumped me in Kathmandu, as you put it. We're going to dump her and then we're going to go into
No, I definitely don't remember that. Now, wait a minute. Did you object?
No.
Did you want to go with the 5 guys?
No.
No, okay. Well, that's a little bit clarity then. No, Harry, that was when we went with Frank, and we hopped along. No, that was 2001.
Because I moved to Nepal in October of 2000.
Yeah, but the king was killed in September of 2001. And that's when we were caught up in the mountains. Remember that?
we were more than 5 people in that trip.
Yeah, so
But that was a big trip though, that time.
Yeah, so
That
your
was
trip was
definitely
5
a big
guys? I
trip.
don't remember that.
Yeah, that was Shiny and you.
Oh gosh, we went with Shashi out to the dried up riverbed. And we had all
We
the
went
monkeys.
to pick up the girl that was blind.
And we had all the monkeys
Yes.
climbing around on the
Yes.
roof.
We went to pick up that girl that was blind from birth to bring her back to Kathmandu for an evaluation.
Krishna Kumari, right?
Yes.
Yeah, New Pani. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Krishna?
Krishna Kumari.
Yeah.
Harry,
I think she was about 12 years old then.
Harry, that's the time when we slept outside up on the open deck with all the monkeys running around. And everybody was saying, don't, if you sleepwalk, don't walk off the side of the building and all that.
Yeah. No, we were up in the air. It's
Way up in the air.
One of those structures where they dry the hay up top. Down below is where the animals were, and there was a floor on the next story. No signs on the buildings, but that's where they dried the hay. But we were sleeping up there, and you had to remember not to roll over in your sleeping bag because there was a big hole as big as this rug in the middle.
That's where the steps came up, and then the sides were open. It was like a,
You know
it was
what?
like a floating death
We,
board.
at about 4:20 in the morning, is when you began to hear the noise of Nepal waking up. You would hear the first roosters.
Yeah.
You'd hear the cow mooing, and then you'd hear the people say, "No, no, 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 no." And then you'd hear someone singing in the distance.
Yeah,
You know,
but
just-
remember we woke up and it was real hazy out there. It was
Yeah.
like this London
Oh.
fog, and we just remember seeing, because I remember Seinfeld, me and Seinfeld kept looking at each
Oh, it was
other.
awesome.
So we didn't know if they were ghosts or what. We'd see somebody come, and it was like a dark gray in a shadow, and then it would disappear in the fog. I was like, hi, where are we?
People were moving around at 4:20 in the morning
Swishing around. They
to
were
get
looking
their
there
to
swishing.
get their stuff done.
It
It
was
was just
crazy.
beautiful.
Monkeys all night.
It was,
Oh my
it was
God.
the mist before the sunrise.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. Good food at that place. I remember the food was good.
The food out in the villages was always great. I never got sick in the village, never once, from anything I ate. They handed you an aluminum plate that they wiped with that dirty rag that they cleaned everything with.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they put that food on the plate, it was so hot it killed everything.
Do you remember when we took the climb? It was me and you and Keo and Denny, and we took the climb up. I told you, that's why I bought the camera a couple months ago. We took the climb up to Gorka. We climbed all the way up to the palace, and the blind guy was there. Were you with us?
You mean the place where they do the sacrifices?
Yeah, but it was the actual king's. It's the king's old fortress.
Yeah.
It was Rana, and the guy who was taking care of it, the watchman was blind. He was the blind with the stick, and he would come after us and try to tell us to take the leather off. I'm like looking at him like, how do you know I got a leather belt on? Blind? And the guy was blind, so we had to take all the leather. We had to take all the leather off, take our shoes off, and put them in an unlocked locker. Remember that when we walked around? You know, remember that we walked around the whole thing, and then down underneath on the portico, there's a hole and a little arch, and you go down about 10 steps, and there's Gorkanath. There's the Gorkanath guy down there, and we weren't allowed to take any pictures or anything.
Yeah, I was only up there once. Just never again.
I just remember the guy was blind. And then one day we went back the next year later because I was trying to get inside the thing. We had P.u.m.a, and I was trying to get inside because you looked through the lattice work and you could see the king's old throne.
Yeah.
The throne was, it was all like falling apart and everything, but it's right there. And it was like, wow, I got to get through this place. And we're like, nobody goes in there.
That's
Once-
the place with all the steps, right?
Yeah, where they
were
sacrifice the
there.
blood.
Yeah.
The palace.
But you can look through the lattice work. You can look through the lattice work and go right up to it.
And Kevin took pictures too, so you weren't the only one.
Well, I was down. Did he take a picture down underneath?
No,
Yeah,
we
I went
weren't.
down
We
underneath,
went. That we were not.
But the throne is like from here to the lamp, and you can see it there. I was like, wow, I got to get inside of this thing. But there was no. But one time we went there, and all the Nepali army was using it as an outpost, and we went out back, and they put a helipad in there. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah.
And we went out there, and we were standing taking pictures with them guys, and they all had like rifles
I
from
was only up there
1912.
once. No, the army wasn't there. We went up there with the photographer, the heavyset guy.
Oh.
What was his name?
That was 2003. The guy, like the ride on top of the buses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Moved to California. So I can't remember people's names, but but he was a very good photographer.
Yeah, he was from Calvary Missions magazine.
Yes.
Yes.
That's when he took the picture with Anne-Marie Myers holding that IV bag up over that guy in the Ari Pokeri.
Didn't that make the front cover of one of the
Yeah.
magazines?
He took that
Yeah.
picture of me
Saw
when
that
I
too.
met Grandma.
Oh, the widow.
Grandma from the
Sarah
town,
Bazaar.
Sarah Bazaar, where the town got flooded out.
Yeah, the widow.
The
Krishna.
widow. Yeah.
Krishna.
She was the
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The widow, which is possibly still alive.
Yeah.
Okay. we took care of like 18 roofs. They said, what can we do to help? We said, what can we do to help you? They said, we need roofs. So we did roofs.
We built her a whole little
We
place.
built her a place, and Carl
In charge of
Richards, remember Carl Richards was supporting her food for years and years. We came to visit her. She was still in mourning. She was in mourning for over 2 years.
Ah, it was.
And then I had my daughter Heather there one time, and we were all sitting on the steps by there was 3 houses, you know,
Yeah.
like the dad's house. It was the father of one of the girls who worked for us in the clinic, and there were like 3 houses together, and all the women's groups were singing songs. Remember that? Were you there?
The mother's group, I think so.
Well, no, there was a mother's group, and then there was other people,
Okay,
a
then
couple
no, I wasn't
guys,
there.
and everybody would sing a song. When they sang the song, 2 people would get up and dance. It
Wow.
could be 2 guys, it could be 2 girls, just, yeah. Steve, you remember the night?
We got stuck in there.
No. I'm talking about the night where we were all on the steps in Sarah Bazaar, and all the mothers groups are singing. And
Were you in Sarah or were you in
Sarah.
Arizona?
Yes.
That's Anne Marie.
It was
that's
the place
Maggie-
with the
that's
tree in the
how
middle.
Maggie went.
with the tree in the middle, with
She went
one of the girls' father's house. There was a couple houses together,
I'm like,
and
nah.
Oh, yeah.
everybody was singing. And then
Hema. It was Hema's dad.
correct,
And he was
correct.
the
But
committee
we'll
guy.
get to the point. The point was, the widow was there, and she'd been mourning for 2 years. And one of the songs, the widow stood up, and she went like this. She pulled the veil off her head. She pulled everything off her arms, and she danced.
Yeah, I know that. I remember that. They had the little tiny courtyard there in behind it. Yeah,
The
that
night the
was.
widow danced.
Yep.
That was a great day.
Is that the one?
Gary's interviewing us.
Yeah. Mare, what was your experience like when you went to the
When I
village?
Let me see, the first time that I went, it was a mission trip where they split us in 2 different places. So I was in the Terai, Pat was in Gorka, and along with a bunch of other people. It was a difficult trip, but it was one that the Lord just impressed on my heart that there was something. And then the next time, after I wrote to Steve and thanked him for allowing me to come on the trip, and he thanked me for thanking him. And then
And she thanked me for thanking her. And then we sang 250,000 times.
and he said that
And then
I
she
could-
ended up there.
yeah, somehow.
I out-thanked her, and she went. Usually you
That was
people
one of
I
the
out-thank her.
Yeah.
That was a very difficult. That was a
Lots of
defining trip.
spiritual warfare and
Steve was falsely accused by that one doctor.
of joy.
She wrote
Joy.
She wrote letters. She wrote letters to Joe
I
Foch
remember that.
mentioning Steve, mentioning me, and this wasn't right, and that wasn't right. And I remember sitting in the office with Joe, and I said, "This is not true." I said, "This woman is out of her mind."
She was out of So when did you go? That was 99. When did you wind up going full-time?
October. Well, then I went for another trip because I stayed in Kathmandu.
Where
and
we
then-
gently left you in Kathmandu.
And then I went back home and packed all my stuff, sold
I
everything.
remember that.
Yeah.
And then in October, September 30th, I left
Yeah.
of
I
2000.
remember I got your email. I sold everything and I'm trying to sell my car. And I'm going to Nepal. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is.
And we did that year-end party. so
When
all
did you go?
earrings.
Full time?
Yeah, when did you go over?
January 2000. I went over for the first time January 2001.
Don't fall down there.
I will.
But when did you go over to stay there?
January 2006.
Wow, it took you so long.
I had to wait for God to tell me to go.
Where do you see
knew
the
I was
old
going, I
building?
just
You
had to
gotta
wait.
drive by the old building.
Yeah.
You spend all that time in the brown building. It's like this, it wasn't a disco.
It's
bar,
a restaurant.
Is it just a
It's a
restaurant?
cooler restaurant, yeah.
The boys'
It's a
home.
what kind of
The
restaurant?
old boys home.
The old boys' home's a
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Harry, were you on the,
We've
were
eaten
you
there
on
a
the
couple
top
times.
roof? I was trying to remember the other
Just regular
CNN
Nepal.
interview.
Yeah,
Were you on the
kind of,
top
yeah.
roof when we were negotiating with Ohm for the rent? Were you up there with John Peters and me? Do you remember? It was a blistering hot
No,
day.
but I do remember.
He
what
had
happened.
the coveralls on.
I may have been. I don't remember.
Okay, you would remember.
He was a mess. I mean, he slapped the kids once, and I had to go after him.
Who, Oh?
Oh,
I thought you were
Stress.
yeah, he's some of the boys.
We used to play badminton with him. Didn't we?
Yeah, he
No, we went to his house one time and he opened his safe up and showed us like he had $1 million in
I don't know.
coins.
The kid did something.
Yeah.
Ran on his grass or something because he was trying to get the grass to grow and it wouldn't grow because the kids are running all over on the grass.
Especially was he wasn't around to get slapped, they'd really run on it.
Mary, tell us about the goat incident.
Oh gosh, the very first night I was in Nepal, and they put me upstairs in that room at the end.
The front building or the back building?
The front building, the back building wasn't there yet.
Yeah,
And it had all the glass windows.
Yes.
And you and Sarah were always looking like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And I see these eyes staring at me because the curtains didn't
Close.
close. Yeah, so
It was kind of high.
anyway, so when things finally quieted down, I hear this screaming through the house. And I'm like, is there a kid with Tourette's here? And Steve didn't tell me about it. I'll kill him. And I hear this screaming. So I just got brave. I opened the door. I'm walking down the dark corridor. And then I come down the steps. I flick on the light. I scream. The goat screamed, who was tied to the railing on the bottom floor. And then Sashi comes out of the room. And I'm like, what's this goat doing here? And he said, well, if I put him out, somebody will steal him. I said, get him out of here. So he did. He took him outside. And then he said, well, no, I don't want to hear it. Does Steve know this is here? Why is this here? And he said, well, because we're going to sacrifice it. And then I said, does Steve know you're going to sacrifice this? And he goes, no. I said, I'll tell him. Don't worry.
She was always a problem employee. Yeah.
I'll tell him. Don't worry. And then he took it out and he just cut it up, and there was no sacrifice. And then the kids could eat the goat. It was the most frightening thing. The screaming through the marble hallways.
That's as bad as the time Krishna, we did the barbecue with Krishna's charcoal barbecue grill and everybody got
Gosh,
something.
the lighter fluid or
Yeah,
whatever it
everybody
was,
didn't really die
kerosene.
yet.
It was petroleum gas. It was petrol. I don't know what it was, but it was boom.
Do you remember the time we rented a bus and we took 70 kids
Yes.
to the amusement park?
Children's Park.
Yeah,
The Children's
Children's
Park.
Park?
Yep.
And they kept coming off the bus, and
Yeah.
Steve was like, how many kids
They
are
had
there
a swimming
anyway?
pool. Nobody had swimming trunks. Everybody
No.
just got down to their underwear
Yeah.
and jumped in the pool. And their big famous ride was a roller coaster. And if you go to a little junky carnival here, you'll see it. It's like that green and yellow dragon. And that was the bomb of the rides.
I still
And they had that
picture
little
some
train
of
too.
The little train.
it. Yes.
But
And
we took
Lux was sitting
70
in the
kids
train.
to the great adventure
We
of
also
Nepal.
had-
And then we had to negotiate for the price
Oh,
yes.
of entry. We negotiated everything.
Yeah.
That's when you
great.
could.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
And it was
Here we are.
Video.
No.
Come on,
You
spill
didn't
it
think
out.
that she was tough enough to be there. Like, I remember you telling me that, and she proved you wrong, and God proved you wrong.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
Well, the story is, I love to be wrong and God is right. And I remember one of the toughest trips Steve had 17 people up in Gorka Mountain, with Dr. What was his name? Diver.
Yeah, Diver.
Dr.
Diver.
What was his first name?
Phil Diver.
Yeah.
Phil